Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, a Baxter Professional Services production. Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show, where we're experts in nursing and experts in business. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. Today's episode is how one nurse with a knack for organization transitioned into an entrepreneur. And today's guest is Tina Hazen. So what made you then decide to transition into working for yourself and becoming an entrepreneur?
So when we have moved quite a few times with my husband's position, but the second time we were in Texas, this is our third time in Texas, but the second time we were in Texas, I worked at an eye surgery clinic and I loved it. And I was only there 2 years, and then we ended up going back up north. And I knew deep down that I was never going to find a nursing job that I loved the way I loved that. So I kind of had a fork in the road, and I considered getting my master's and, going down that route. And then I was like, we're doing something completely different-ish. So I ended up finding a group called the National Association of Productivity and Organizing. And this was 16 years ago, and I had no idea that you could be a professional organizer. But I knew deep in my soul that this is what I was born to do, basically. And so looking back when I was a nurse, it's like, oh yeah, I was always organizing the nursing station and making sure everything was just exactly right. I just didn't know that that would be my future. But I absolutely love my organizing job. And since the beginning, it was always just physically organizing people's possessions. But the last few years, I've really, I've taken classes and I dove deep into the mental health area. I wrote a book called Life is Messy, Organizing Strategies for Your Head and Home. And so I really care about how clutter is affecting your mental health. Right. So that is how I became an organizer and an entrepreneur.
Break free and come feel the sun with the Nurse Shark Academy. Nurses, are you ready to break free from the grind and build something of your own? It's time to take your skills beyond the bedside and step into entrepreneurship. Join our free webinar, Break Free, the Nurse's Path to Entrepreneurship, where you'll learn how to shift your mindset, explore nurse-owned business ideas, and get the exact steps to launch your own business. This is your time to take control of your career and create a future you love. Seats are limited, so grab yours now. Join us at the nursesharkacademy.biz. Break free and come feel the sun with the Nurse Shark Academy. Welcome to the Nurse Shark Academy Show. I'm Tina Baxter, your host. The Nurse Shark Academy Show highlights nurse business owners and others in the healthcare field who promote entrepreneurship. We interview nurse leaders and encourage them to tell their story. My mission is for you to own your seat at the table of nurse entrepreneurship, gaining the confidence, skills, and freedom to live your life on your own terms. You will dream big and expand your consciousness as an entrepreneur. Join us and support these wonderful nurse entrepreneurs and leaders. Today's guest is Tina Hazen from Think Inside the Boxx out of Houston, Texas. Welcome to the show, Tina.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you. It's Tina to Tina.
We're the Tinas today.
That's right. So I wanted to ask, first of all, I love the name of your company, Think Inside the Boxx. But Tell me, what made you become a nurse?
So I am pretty old school. I went to school a long time ago because I'm now in my early 50s. But I have 2 older sisters, and they were both in the healthcare field. One was a physical therapist and one was a dental assistant. And so I am so sorry, but I have a timer going off and everyone's outside.
Hold on 1 second. I'll pause.
Oh, okay. So I was able to look up to them and I realized that I really wanted to be in the medical field somehow, but I really didn't know what. And when I took my ACT, this is a really bad reason to just become a nurse, but I kind of looked at all the options and I went, nursing. And I was a young 17-year-old girl and I started getting mail from colleges about nursing and I started applying and I just kept saying pre-nursing. And then when I got to college, they said, well, this is what you take. And so I said, okay. And after my first year, you had to apply to nursing school.
Hmm.
And so I applied when it was time and then I got accepted. And so I said, okay, I'm going to be a nurse. And yeah, that's how I became a nurse.
So the influence of your older sisters. Now, you said your older sisters were doing what in healthcare?
One was a physical therapist and one was a dental assistant.
Okay, so neither one of those interests you.
Neither one were nurses, but I knew quite a few nurses in my life, but
Hmm.
not my sisters.
Okay, all right. And so you know what? I understand because I have a lot of medical practitioners in my family as well, and sometimes that influence rubs off on you, but maybe in a different way.
Yes.
So what was your first specialty? Where did you start working when you got out of school?
Well, I started in med surge at a very small county hospital, and I really was kind of bummed out because all my friends were specializing. But I always tell people I learned so much because I was taking care of a pediatric patient, I was taking care of a stroke victim, and I was taking care of a post-op, cholecystectomy all at the same time, or a post-op C-section. You just never know.
Hmm.
But then eventually, I really wanted to train in OB, so I did that for a while. And then once I had my second baby, I didn't work for a while. I had a break in there.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And so if for some of our listeners maybe thinking about going to nursing school or maybe in nursing school right now, so going back to your initial nursing training, what is something that you wish you had known when you were in school that you know now?
Well, you learn this really quickly, and you're going to really laugh at this answer. But I didn't realize how important bowel movements are because, again, I was a young girl right out of high school, and we got to our clinicals, and my first clinicals was on I think it was like a long term unit, and they wanted me to mark the last time the person had gone had a bowel movement, and they wanted to know, was it on their own or was it, soft or hard or whatever. And was I wasn't appalled, but I was just in shock. Like, this is a thing. And of course, now we all know, oh, yes, this is
Hmm.
very important. But
Very
at the
important.
time, I was shell shocked.
That's
Truth,
important. That's
truth.
important to know. Yeah. I think nurses are probably one of the only ones that are very concerned about your consistency, color, smell, look, and everything about your poop.
I mean, that's what I said. It's just, it's just one of those things that the nurses care about.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
Okay. And so you worked in med surg, and then you went to mother baby or labor and delivery.
Yes.
How was that when you were in labor delivery? Did you enjoy that
I
specialty?
really enjoyed it. The only thing was, I really feel like if I was in a bigger hospital, it probably would have been a little better because I wasn't necessarily a fresh nurse, but I was a fresh OB nurse.
Hmm.
And a lot of times it would just be me and my supervisor. There weren't like seven of us delivering babies or helping. There was me. I was like the OB department. And so that was a little nerve wracking when you're young and fresh. I did fine and I did well and I had great doctors to work with. But I always felt like if I had a bigger hospital and a bigger OB unit, it would have been a little better to have those other nurses there for help or backup.
Right, right, right. I understood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, where did you go to school? You said you got
Yeah. I
university.
got my BSN at West Virginia University in
Okay.
Morgantown, West Virginia. I'm originally from West Virginia, and we live in Texas now because of my husband's job.
Okay. Okay. Where about in Texas?
We
Houston?
live in Houston. We live east of the city in Houston, Texas.
Okay. So you didn't get anything with the hurricanes or anything so
Not
far.
this time. We whatever was 3 ago, we did it was a 2. I don't remember the name because there are so many of them. But I didn't really like all the big wind coming through. It was a little scary, but nothing, no damage or anything.
Oh, that's good. Well, with the Helene, we got some rain and some damage from that here in Indiana.
Oh, wow. Oh
Yes.
my
Yes,
goodness.
we had really strong winds, torrential rains, and it caused a couple of tornadoes. And we
Mhm.
had a lot of trees down. So a couple of the streets near my house, the trees were down. So you had to go around them and try to figure out how to get
Wow.
out. And some power outages. Fortunately for me,
Yes.
our power didn't stay out very long. But
Mhm.
so that was.
Yeah, I mean, you always think around the coast,
Mhm.
but look at North Carolina. I
Yeah.
was just sickened by that. I have friends in that area, and yeah, I think it took them over a week to get their power back.
Yeah, I saw some of the footage and some of the stories about the nurses going on horseback up in the mountains to take
Wow.
care of the people because that's the only way you can get through.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing.
So shout out to those nurses because you
Shout
know
out.
what?
That's right. That's right.
We are a resilient bunch. And it was going back to nurses used to do that, back in the day. Nurses
Absolutely.
would get on their horse and go from town to town and provide medical care and deliver those babies. So, yeah.
Yep, that's right. That's
Hmm.
right.
Yeah. So, what made you then decide to transition into working for yourself and becoming an entrepreneur?
So when we have moved quite a few times with my husband's position, but the second time we were in Texas, this is our third time in Texas, but the second time we were in Texas, I worked at an eye surgery clinic and I loved it. And I was only there 2 years, and then we ended up going back up north. And I knew deep down that I was never going to find a nursing job that I loved the way I loved that. So I kind of had a fork in the road, and I considered getting my master's and, going down that route. And then I was like, we're doing something completely different ish. So I ended up finding a group called the National Association of Productivity and Organizing. And this was 16 years ago, and I had no idea that you could be a professional organizer. But I knew deep in my soul that this is what I was born to do, basically. And so looking back when I was a nurse, it's like, oh yeah, I was always organizing the nursing station and making sure everything was just exactly right. I just didn't know that that would be my future. But I absolutely love my organizing job. And since the beginning, it was always just physically organizing people's possessions. But the last few years, I've taken classes and I dove deep into the mental health area. I wrote a book called Life is Messy: Organizing Strategies for Your Head and Home. And so I really care about how clutter is affecting your mental health.
Right.
So that is how I became an organizer and an entrepreneur.
Well, I think that's wonderful because if you could see my office, I definitely need your skills.
I would love to come help you. I would love it.
my
Yeah,
my assistant has been off, so everything is everywhere because she knows I don't put it back.
well, I've been speaking a lot more because of the
Mhm.
book. And believe me, I didn't plan on becoming a speaker, but because of the book, I've been speaking. And so one of the things I say to people is when you walk into your kitchen and it's a disaster from the night before, how does that make you feel? Like you're automatically going to be irritated. You're going to automatically be yelling at your kids. You're automatically just going to be annoyed.
Mm-hmm.
And versus walking in, it's straightened up from the night before and you have a fresh start. I know it's a very small example, but that's kind of where I'm coming from is how do you feel when you walk into that area?
Right. That's important. We forget about those things in our environment do affect us.
Yes,
Um,
they do.
and having sometimes that mess, it's overwhelming for a lot of people. So having
And
that help is important.
absolutely. And that's the word that we use a lot is, are you overwhelmed? Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So how long have you been in business?
16 years.
16 years. Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
you've been around for a while. So do you mainly work in like Texas or do you work in other areas?
No, I mainly work in tech. I work pretty much local to where I live. And then when I'm doing speaking, I can, of course, do that in person or on Zoom. And
Hmm.
then I sometimes do book events and things like that. But in general, it's pretty much where if I'm physically organizing, it's, within an hour that I can drive to.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm going to ask you this. And of course, you don't have to give any names, but what was your toughest organizing job?
Oh, that's so easy. I have I have helped people with hoarding disorder, but I had one particular client who was an adult in her 60s and she was single with no children and she had moved into her parents' home to help them, as they aged. Well, both of them eventually died. And I'm going to use the word hoard as a verb, but she hoarded on top of their hoarding. I feel like both
Mm.
of the parents were already very, very, keep the stuff, keep the stuff. And then she did it on top of that. So she had called me and said, "Hey, I got your card and I need you to come help me with some art supplies." I was like, "Oh, I love art rooms. That'll be so fun." And I got there and it became, that's another thing about me being a nurse is I'm very, very safety conscious. I'm always worried about rugs not being down and too much furniture, etc. And her doors were blocked with clutter.
Hmm.
And so I kept explaining to her, if there's an emergency, you can't get out and the emergency, workers can't get in. So
Right.
it was a really hard, it was a struggle because she didn't want to go to a therapist. And normally you really need to work with an organizer and a therapist at the same time.
Yes.
Because you can get better, but it's a very, very deep rooted problem. And it takes more than me coming in a few hours to help with a little bit of mail. That's just not going to get you out of this situation.
No, because you're going to go right back to it.
Correct.
Hmm.
And she this is also very common. People have shopping addictions. And
Hmm.
I'm trying to help get rid of. And every single time I showed up to her house, there were 5 or 6 more Amazon boxes there. So it's something that is deeper than me coming for a few hours. It's a lot harder than that.
Yeah,
So he's
I've
probably
seen
my
some
hardest.
I've seen some videos online where this woman comes in and cleans these people's houses for free that just can't do it. And some of it's not just clutter, but it's like built in old grease and dirt
Oh
and
yeah.
dishes that are piled up that have never been washed. And they just buy new dishes
Yeah.
instead of washing them.
Sometimes you just have to buy new because
Hmm.
it's pretty bad. But I also volunteered on a hoarders episode many, many years ago. And that was really tough because it was also in Texas and it was a very hot day. It was like
Mm,
mid 90s and I had to wear, excuse me, I had to wear work boots. I had to wear jeans with tape around the ankles, a men's work shirt, a hat, my hair up with a mask and gloves because the interior of the home had a bug problem. And
mm,
that's why you had to do the tape around your ankles. And it was one of the hard, I mean, it was a volunteer job for me, but it
mhm.
was one of the hardest things I've done. It was really hard.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
Yeah. Didn't love it.
And but I think what I love about it is that you can bring your nurse's heart to it and your nurse's eyes to it and
Yeah.
really
And I
help
have to,
educate.
yeah, I really have to be empathetic and I really have to talk people through things because, a lot of people don't want to let go of their memories, etc. And then that kind of gets into, yes, I'm not a therapist, but I am a therapist
Yes.
because there's a way to talk to people that, you really want them to, I want them to trust me,
Hmm.
because I'm trying to help them so much.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I worked in home care for a while. So I've had my share of homes that were in disrepair.
Yeah.
I remember one vividly that they finally condemned the home. This woman was living there with her dog named Devil, by the way. The dog's name was Devil. And it was so horribly, I just, there were cockroaches falling out of the ceiling and onto me. And
Yeah,
one fell on my shoulder.
it's like, no, thank you. I did not sign up for this.
Yes. I took my jacket off, shook it off, went
Oh,
outside, jumped up and down like a crazy person, stripping stuff off. People probably thought I was nuts. But I was like, I am not taking this home with me. And so I've seen some things. She had a hot plate on her stove that was plugged in into the light socket. The light socket had a little plug, and that's how she cooked her food because her stove didn't work. The bathroom was so filthy, I had to clean the bathtub in order to put her in it to give her a bath. Yeah. So I've
it's,
seen,
I
yeah,
know.
yeah. So
I
I
know.
can imagine some of the things that you might get into.
And then, yeah. And
Yeah.
you see people with buckets of medicines and,
Oh, yes.
God knows how old those medications are. And then, do they even know what they're supposed to be taking? And,
Hmm.
I end up helping them go through. I'm like, let's organize this because I do help a lot of, not a lot, but some elderly clients.
Yes. Yes. The whole bag of medicines that they pull out of the closet.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I asked, well, why are you taking this? Well, I don't know. Dr. So and so said I should take it. I said, yes, but you're also taking this one.
Right.
And they do the same thing. Are you
Right. So
sure? Well,
you're doubling up on that.
yes.
Yeah.
They switch doctors a lot. And I had a lady that was like that. She would hop from doctor to doctor to doctor. And I finally had to put a stop to that. I was like, nope, we're not doing that.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you did because that can be dangerous,
Hmm.
especially if it's a blood pressure medicine or maybe if it's a blood thinner. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I had a lady that went off her blood thinner after she had had two strokes because they put her on a very expensive medication, a new one. She couldn't
Yeah.
afford it. So she just stopped taking it and didn't bother to tell the doctor. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And then she wonders why she has another stroke
Yeah. Hmm. Uh-huh.
or yeah, yeah. Okay.
So I see here in your bio that you travel a lot. So what kind of things do you do? You travel.
We love to travel. Well, my husband and I, when our kids were really little, my girls were 4 and 2, we moved to Germany. And
Oh.
we were there for 3.5 years. And then we had our son over there. And so I've raised my 3 kids. So my youngest is in college. The other two are completely on their own. They have real adult big girl jobs. So I have one left in college. But living in Europe really helped us because when you're already central if you already start there, it's,
Mhm.
you can just go so many places. So we really enjoyed that, and it kind of gave us the bug. So we've really traveled, I wouldn't say extensively, but we love Mexico, and we love the Caribbean, and next month we're going to Thailand for fun.
All
It's our
right.
it's our anniversary here in a few weeks, so we are going to go to Thailand for a vacation. But we just really love it. And next year we're going to do, and I've never been here, so this is new for me, but we're going to do an Alaskan cruise, which will be fun.
All right.
But I think it's just the fact that the kids are out of the house and we're empty nesters. And with my business, I'm able to, work it out so I can take time off.
See, that's why I brought that up, because those budding entrepreneurs out
Yeah,
there,
I don't have to
Mhm.
request off my time anymore.
Yes, the dreaded
It's probably
PTO.
my favorite part of the job is creating my own schedule.
Yes,
Yeah. And
yes.
and I put out a newsletter every 2 weeks, and I can work on it whenever I want to, as long as it's ready in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoy being an entrepreneur. And I've been taking a lot of speaking classes, and I'm really trying to get out there. I really want to help, corporations or ERGs, which is employee resource groups. I want to talk to them about mental health. And so if there's anyone listening, go to tinahazen.com, and that's the way to get a hold of me for that. But I am still physically organizing, but I would like to eventually pivot to just speaking.
Okay. All right. Well, that's great to hear. So, you did give us your website. Tell us, what's the name of your book again, and how can our listeners get a
Yes,
copy?
yes. It is an easy read, by the way. I personally have anxiety and ADHD, so writing a book was hard in general. But it's an easy read, quick tips. So just to start with that, it is on Amazon, and it is called Life is Messy: Organizing Strategies for Your Head and Home. Because I do talk about mental health, and then I do talk about the messy spots in your home, and I give you tips and tricks of how to decrease the clutter in your house.
Okay. All right. Well, that
Yeah.
sounds great. So, having started your business, what were some of the challenges that you had in starting your business?
That is a great question. And the hardest thing for me was running the business, because I'm a nurse and I don't know anything about running a business. So it was a very, very large learning curve. I didn't know anything about financials and percentages and advertising, and I just didn't know.
Hmm.
So I have had to learn along the way. And that for me is the hardest part. And it's the part that I hate the most. The part that I love the most is working for me. And the part I hate the most is wearing every single hat. I'm the everything of the business. I do it all. And so that part does make it hard.
So, and that's what I want some of our listeners to hear, because it's one of the reasons why I founded the Nurse Shark Academy, is because of nurses just like you starting a business. And I was in the same boat when I first started. There wasn't someone there to help you with the how tos. A lot of big, 100,000 mile concepts, but not to the nitty gritty how to. And so that's why I
Yes.
founded the organization, so that we can help you with the how to in your startup.
Correct. I really recommend finding I don't know what you'd call it, a mentor, a buddy, anyone that you can shadow, that they can talk to you about their numbers, how they do things. Maybe even learn QuickBooks in the beginning. I I was telling you, I hate that, but it's important.
Hmm.
So that's what I would do. And then there are also programs at local colleges that I believe you can go meet with people, and they help you for free. And I can't off the top of my
Score.
head. Thank you. I know that there are places that can help you, and I recommend taking all of the advice from the people that know what they're doing.
Exactly. Yes, I worked with SCORE in the very beginning, and what was interesting, we met with him, and he said, "Well, you guys are farther along than most of my clients, so because they help you with like writing a business plan, but
Yes,
doing the research and finding the information and knowing what the regulatory hurdles are in your niche, if as a nurse, they may not be well versed in that." And so that's why
correct.
we come along to help with that stuff, because that regulatory stuff is
Yes,
can be a beast.
yes, it's very true.
Hmm. Yes, yes. And so, lastly, as we begin to wrap up, what is one piece of advice that you would give to a budding entrepreneur?
I personally would say go for it. To be honest, it's been one of the best things I ever did. And even writing a book, that was scary. But you know what? It doesn't matter your age. I feel like I'm still young. I'm young at heart. I'm not really young, but
Right, we're
but
not that far. We're not that far apart.
I really, really, if you have it, the desire, I think that you should try it and go for it.
Yeah, I agree. Just go, do.
Do it
You know.
because I mean, why not? And if it doesn't work, excuse me, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. Look at what you learned from point A to point B. I mean,
Yes.
right now I'm trying to become a speaker. I am a speaker. I have spoken at multiple places,
Hmm.
but I, I'm going to just keep growing. I'm going to just keep growing and getting better and stretching myself.
Well, as nurses, we're often taught about lifelong learning. And
Yeah.
when you first had to put in that Foley cath, or you first had to give that bed bath, right? You were shaking in your boots and you were nervous.
Yeah.
But now you're an expert and a pro at it because you've done it again and
Yes.
again and again. It's
Yes.
no different being in business. You got to just go out there
It
and do it.
really is. Yes.
Mhm.
You have to just, and the more you do it, the better you become at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for your time. This has been great and excellent. And I love the way you bring your nursing background into your business. That's completely different from nursing, right? It's different from nursing,
It is.
but
It
it's not.
is to a point. It
To
is
a
to a
point.
point. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Tina.
All right. This has been the Nurse Shark Academy show. I'm Tina Baxter. If you are watching us on YouTube on the Nurse Shark Academy channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when our next episodes are coming out. Also, if you're following us and listening to us on the audio version, you can get us through Podbean or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you would like more information about guesting on this show, please reach out to us at the nursesharkacademy.biz. Thank you. See you next time. Nurses, are you ready for more? My mission is for you to own your seat at the table of nurse entrepreneurship, gaining confidence, skills, and the freedom to live your life on your own terms. Assisting you in achieving your goals through tailored advice, continuous learning, and a collaborative approach is at the heart of everything I do. Stop being eaten alive. Come feel the sun. Be a nurse shark. Thank you for listening to the Nurse Shark Academy show wherever you get your podcasts or watching us on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you'll know when all of our episodes come out. If you want further information, you can contact us on the nursesharkacademy.biz.